Welcome to this week's show. A bit of a different one because we're bringing you Swarf and Chips this week from all of our own remote locations. Obviously, we are going to discuss what is happening in the world of manufacturing right now. Paul is going to talk us through a construction of a stripped down machine tool at XYZ. We're going to hear from Joe, who talks broaching with Horn, and Collins at Adams Lube Tech in Coventry. And we have an incredible cycle time challenge with Paul of an Aerostructure part. It really truly is incredible, a chance for you to get involved. But of course, Paul, tough times at the moment.
Yes, it is tough times at the moment, Lyndsey, but we're obviously, trying to continue the good quality content that we provide. And of course, now when you've maybe got more time on your hands, this is a time to really learn about the different aspects of engineering. I'm here in the studio on my own. Obviously, MTD are practicing or following the government guidelines. These guys are remote in their own locations, but I'm quite comfortable here. I've got my MTD magazine, I've got my cup of coffee, I've even got my hand sanitizer there as well. Now, don't forget, it's not just Swarf and Chips. We've obviously got various channels that you can keep abreast of the latest things happening in industry. We have our podcast once a week. We've also got our Question Time show, which was live this week. And of course, the MTDCNC channel continues to flourish with videos. But there's been some fantastic stories on social media that I'm sure you've all seen. Lyndsey, you've been taking a look at a few of these as well, haven't you? Some really great things happening out there.
I have, and we are so proud of the UK and the manufacturing that you are producing for these critical parts. A big shout out to High Spec Precision, Microlock, Quick Grind, EFJ Engineering, and Proto Labs, all making critical parts for these ventilators. Listen to this. This is from Quick Grind. An inquiry came in at 3:30 on Thursday. Part drawing sent 12 minutes past 4. Tool drawing done and sent for approval at 7:15. Tools approved 7:45. 10 tools made, signed off by 9:38. Collected and on production Friday morning. It really, really is incredible what you guys are capable of doing and producing. Please send in to us inquiries at mtdcnc.com. All of the pictures, what you're up to, what you're creating, what you're making. Obviously, if there's NDAs on parts, then no, but anything you can, send them in to us. We're so proud of everybody, and we're going to put that out on all of our social media. Right, okay, let's head over to Joe, who's talking to Horn about broaching.
I'm here with Alex from Horn, and we're going to be talking about the Horn cutting tools, your broaching systems. What do we have in front of us?
In front of us here, we're showcasing our different broaching insert system variations, along with some example components to show what is achievable with these tools.
Just give us an example. How are they used?
We have a range of systems in front of us. So from the N105 system, which can be used in bore entries from 6mm as standard, moving on to the N1110 system, which is a larger adaptation. This can enter bores from 9mm and with longer reach advantages. Moving on again to the largest adaptation is the S117 system. This offers support behind the insert, larger form ranges, and of course larger reaches as well.
What are the main advantages of using the Horn broaching system?
The main advantages, and the reason this system was developed, was to minimise expensive second operations on additional machinery. So where customers might turn components or blanks and then have to load them on another piece of machinery, this is lost time and money. What we aim to do is get the finished component off of the machine in one process.
No, I've seen a lot of sliding head users use wobble broaching, but you've got a better alternative ultimately.
Yes, well, what we found is that on some of the larger hexes, sort of 8mm and above, around that area, the wobble broaches start to create quite a lot of pressure. So what we are able to do is offer an alternative solution, an improved solution, which is to broach the hex with our standard range.
There we are, it's a vast range. So if you want to learn more about any gear milling, any hobbing, this type of technology, get in touch with the guys from Horn.
Right, hello everyone, each and every one of you. Right, broaching, Geo, first one, Paul Horn, an incredibly professional outfit. We went to Germany and saw what they do. So what's your take on this?
Well, thanks, Lyndsey. Firstly, I'd like to echo what you said about the manufacturing industry. I think it's absolutely amazing what they are doing, and they should be very proud of themselves. In regards to Broaching and Horn, yes, they're an absolutely fantastic organisation. I think it's a great solution in regards to saving operations, but it's also about maintaining the accuracy of the part and the timing of the broached feature in relationship to the rest of the features on that component. I can give you a real life example of when I was on the shop floor at a company called CD Atkinson. We used to make microbore boring units, which required keyways. Now, we used to machine the microbore units on a CNC machine. Then we had to then move the components onto a 6-meter long broaching machine. This was another operation. It was another operation in which you had to move the components around the shop floor, but it was a very oily operation as well, messy operation, and you can lose the relationship. So what I'm trying to say is really, Lyndsey, that the savings from such a small return for such a small investment are very large. And if you can do it on the machine all in one, it's very beneficial.
All right, thanks, Gio. Now, don't forget, we've got our cycle time challenge coming up a little bit later on. It's your chance to get involved and win yourself a Swarf and Chips goodie bag. Lots of goodies to be had in there as well. But
could I just add about the broaching, Lyndsey, before we go on to the next one?
Absolutely,
and firstly, I want to say, Gio, did you wash your top in with a pair of purple socks? It's either that or you've got some discoloration in your webcam there on your computer. But every other aspect of you looks in pristine condition as you always do. So good to see you, because I've not seen you for a while. But
Thank you.
One of the things about broaching is the wobble broaching as well. I know it was touched on in that video that they were talking about, and I find that operation fascinating. And I don't know whether I'm sure you do, Gio, but Lyndsey, I don't know whether you've ever seen what wobble broaching is. But I mean, it's basically like a chisel-like action as the tool moves, and the tool actually spins with the spindle, and it still creates exactly what we're talking about, a broaching operation. And I just think broaching is something we don't talk about enough. And I know that
we don't broach the subject enough.
We do. Well, there you go. And I know that Horn, that's not one of the amongst many of the products that they supply, grooving tools, solid carbide, Swiss tooling, Swiss lathe tooling. And I can't finish this bit without saying, do you remember last year when we went there that someone was late in the morning to get on the bus? Say no more.
I do remember. We were all sat on the bus and waited for someone called, no, I won't name names, it's me, Joe.
We appear to be waiting for one more, just one more. One more person, been waiting 10 minutes. Yes, the Swarf Guru.
Hey, come when you can.
Anyway, right, Paul, you're heading over to XYZ and stripping off. I mean, the machine is stripped down.
So today, an educational feature for you on Swarf and Chips. So, a few weeks ago, we talked on the show about the differences between box guideway and linear rails on machines. Today, we're going to do something a little bit similar, because we have a machine here, an XYZ 1100 HD, which is a box guideway machine but has no guarding on it. So I'm going to point out some of the areas of interest to me. Now, of course, this is the base of the machine, and it's made up of a few castings. This is the base with a box guideway. This is the column at the back of the machine. And then we have the head here, which is on a box guideway as well on the column. Now here we have the saddle, and this is your y-axis here, your guideway for your y-axis and your guideway for your x-axis. Now interestingly, this has been flipped. Most machining centres have these axes the other way round. So basically the table would be lower down and the y-axis would be underneath the x-axis. It's pretty hard to describe, but basically when you have a table configured like this with a y-axis on top, wherever the table moves across on the x-axis, you get no droop. I'm not saying the other machines would droop, but it's more likely to, as a result of it's not as well supported as when you flip the axes like this. Quite a few machines do use this method, but it is certainly a very stable way of machining, and coupled with the box guideway construction, really means you've got the ultimate in rigidity on a machine. That's it from me here at XYZ Machine Tools in Devon, looking at the XYZ 1100 HD frame.
It's interesting, Paul. This isn't the final machine, is it? So why are XYZ showing off a machine in this state?
Well, I think what they're trying to show their customers that visit their site in Devon, what actually goes into the construction of an XYZ HD machining centre. And often you'll buy a machine or you'll go and look at a machine in a showroom, but what you won't quite see is how it all goes together. For example, you look there at the diameters of the ball screws, you can look at the width of the box guideways, you can look at all the different aspects of the machine and how it is actually built and put together. And then, of course, they're reassuring their customers that what they're supplying them with is a heavy-duty machine tool.
It certainly looks like a good, solid construction for sure. And I'm glad it wasn't Paul that was naked, and I'm sure he wouldn't look that solid. I don't want to get into another argument really about box and linear guideways, but box guideways are usually associated with higher load capabilities. They are thought more suitable for heavy or interrupted cuts and better at reducing chatter. However, with new cutting strategies and good linear machines with roller bearings, they are also rigid, and some would say that they are faster and more accurate. So the argument continues.
What I would also say,
what
I would also say is that when I went to XYZ a couple of weeks ago, they just launched 2 new machines as well. The videos are on our channels on MTDCNC. The RLX 780, which is a huge oil country, big solid heavy duty lathe, and then also a CT LR, a CT52 LR machine, which is a small compact turning centre which operates with linear rail technology. So like Gio's saying, there's a market for both, and XYZ are offering both.
Right,
Definitely.
thank you, Paul. Talking of big machines, the Bavius machine, it is time for the cycle time challenge. Look at the size of this part. It truly is an awesome cycle time challenge for you to get involved in.
Now, I think that this is going to be one of the most fascinating and best cycle time challenges we've ever done on Swarf and Chips. This part, have a look at this. Have a look at the detail. This is an aircraft component. Now, this has been machined on a Bavius machine tool, a horizontal spindle machine. The metal removal on this is something else. I would envisage that this is about 2.5 to 3 meters in length. Now, it's aircraft grade or aircraft aluminium. This is. Now, there are issues when you machine stuff like this, things like chatter, surface finishes, tolerances, swarf fall away, all of those aspects have to be taken into account. And you can imagine the reverse side of this part has just as much machining. So, how long would something like this take to machine? We're talking about 30,000 RPM spindles, high-powered spindles, and obviously the part would be seated in that plane, and the horizontal spindle would just rip all that material out. I want to know how long you think both operations, front and back, would take, the machining cycle complete of a part like this, and how much metal would be coming off it. What a cycle time challenge. See if you can win yourself a Swarf and Chips goodie bag. What I will say is you'll be fascinated by the actual time when we reveal it next week.
Wow. Okay, this is your chance to get involved. Put your guesses in the comments box below of this epic cycle time challenge. You know what baffles me, Paul, is the fact that I'm just thinking about the size of the machine to have a table for this part to fit on. It must be massive.
I mean, you're talking about a Bavius horizontal 5-axis machine. Now, I've been to Germany, to the Bavius factory, and seen these machines being built, and actually seen them cutting parts like this. The metal removal is incredible, but some of the things you have to factor in, you've got to start thinking, as mentioned, things like tool wear and chatter and all of these things. I mean, if you were a cutting tool supplier, what tools do you supply to be able to machine parts like that? Because you're starting to then factor in jerk rates on machines to get the maximum metal removal and make the part as fast as possible. Now, a jerk rate is the acceleration of the acceleration. So when you're going from point to point to point to point to point, all of that then in turn reduces the overall machining time of that part. It is a fantastic part. It's that was actually at the Engineering Technology Group, who are of course the suppliers of the Barvius machine. I know how long it took, but I'm sure Gio, you might want to tell us what you think. How long do you think it would take?
Well, you said in the video, Paul, that you were fascinated, or people would be fascinated about the time of that part. So with that in mind, I would say approximately 6 hours. I mean, that is being optimistic, but what a fantastic part. And they are one of my favourite machines. I can remember back end of last year, we went to the ETG open house and they had the Bavius there. And it is an absolute beast of a machine. It is a great bit of kit.
And I would also say there is one machine that they do have in stock at ETG at the moment, which is a Barvius machine. And it's a 5-axis machine. Again, it's got that horizontal spindle on it for swarf fall away, all of those benefits that type of machine offers, Lyndsey, to the marketplace.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Colin visits Adams Lube Tech in Coventry and finds out more about their latest Miano purchase.
We've dropped into Adams Lube Tech in Coventry. Now, as it says in the name, lubrication essentially, pumps, compressors.
Yes, that's what we are, lubricating. Yeah, anything to lubricate, we can do it.
Okay. How long have you been going?
Yes, since 1942.
Okay. And UK market?
Global market. Yeah, global market.
And supplying to, I'm throwing things out here, supplying to IEMs as well?
Oh, definitely, yes, yeah.
Now, you've got this Citizen Miano machine, the B&J 51 SY6. I got that right, only 28 takes. But a couple of reasons why you bought it.
Competitive prices. I was surprised how competitive Citizens were. Okay. Literally, we couldn't believe it. So it was a no-brainer to just go with it.
Okay, good to hear. And now another reason in terms of production of your components.
Faster, better, neater. What can I say?
Okay, well let's have a quick look at let's go through. There's actually 3 parts here, but what's happened here?
The first part we're looking at now is it's done out of a round bar. We can do it out of a hexagonal shaped bar, but in this case we did it out of a round bar because it makes no difference in time. Right. In actual fact, because of the Miano, it's actually faster.
Brilliant. Okay, now this part here, this is how you used to manufacture it. Yeah. How many ops?
7, 8, 9, 10. Lots of operations.
Lots of manual intervention, and now this is it's obviously changed.
And it's all done. The new one is sold a new one.
Right, and then Miano. With a bar feed, so running 24/7. You
can run 24/7, 7 days a week.
Okay. Now another great component here. We'll get Chris coming back in here. This part here, what's going on with this?
Well, that particular part is on a rectangle shape. It's for our sister company. It's called an anchor block. Yep. Citizens basically baby us all the way through it.
Right.
Guide us through the whole scenario. They were here for 3 days to produce that part.
Right. So
that's what they did.
This machine is new to you in terms of actually using Citizen machines. So they've held your hand the whole way through the whole process.
The whole way through this.
That's it, Eric. Investing to keep ahead of the market, not only UK but worldwide.
Yes, we have to be globally.
There you go. That's it. Just a quick overview. Adams Lube Tech in Coventry.
With all this social distancing, to be honest, we don't have to be up close and personal to Colin, Paul, do we? We don't have to. It's great.
No, I mean, I'm in the studio now. He's normally here. He's normally in the heart of all the activity. But you're right. If there is one benefit to come out of it, that could be it. What's really interesting for me about this video, though, is I was looking at the fact that they used to make it out of hexagon bar. They now use round bar. There's a bit of a question to the audience, really. I mean, why do you swap? Why would you buy round bar and machine the hexagons in it as opposed to buying hex bar and not just using that bar as almost like as your finished sort of outside diameter, outside flats? Now, to me, I'd be interested to know what the audience know, because they said they're making it faster, even though they're machining the flats. I mean, are they getting a better surface finish? I assume they would be. Is it better to feed round bar than hex bar? There's all of these things. Is it more precise when you machine it as opposed to when you're buying it from stock? I suppose it is. Gio, I mean, have you got any experience in that area?
Well, I'd say that hex bar is certainly more expensive for a start, but secondly, you'd still have to machine the hex bar anyway. And with the actual speeds in which the Mianos operate at, I don't know how they can do it actually faster than hex bar, because most of that material has been taken away, but there must be some reason, and it would be great to ask the audience. In regards to the machine, the Mianos are fantastic machines. They've got an absolutely excellent reputation out in the field. I would love to know the price of the machine. He really did say that he was even surprised himself about the cost. So they may be more affordable than people may think. And in regards to Colin, the Silver Fox, he's been doing a fantastic job with the network recently, and people have been winning a lot of work from him, and even more so now with these new ventilator parts that people are looking to produce.
Yeah, that's very. I mean, the network was actually responsible. It did take a few RFQs, in fact, in the last week or so, 4 parts for ventilators, of which then customers have gone on to win that business. So we've been integral in that mix as well. One thing I want to add, Lyndsey, just before we come back to you, is the fact that this company, LubeTech, I was looking on their website. They do all kinds of products. They even design and install car washes, would you believe? And they even do supply Rhino tough tanks. So a very versatile business. The only thing I would ask Colin is next time he goes, if he can take the van, maybe he can get it washed as well.
Don't be so tight, Paul. Don't be so tight. Brilliant. Right, okay, so you've got a few things there. If you can give us some information on the hex and the round bar. Also, send us some photos of what you're up to. Are you at home? Are you CAD camming and working from home on parts? Are you at work? Send us some selfies as well, and keep us abreast as to what you are up to at the moment and your cycle time challenge guesses. It is a little bit different, but it's fine, and we're going to work with this being in remote locations over the next few weeks for Swarfenships, and we really appreciate you viewing, liking, subscribing to all of our channels, and keep watching and sending us as much content as possible. So should we do it? Ready? Keep those spindles turning.
Spindles turning.